Welcome, welcome. Happy Wednesday. It's hump day. I have so many things to show you. I literally clipped 200 things today. Also, just to teach myself information, but that press conference with Epstein's victims was, I mean, I've never seen so much coverage of a press conference on Capitol Hill in my life. I think that was one of the largest press conferences ever on the steps of the Capitol. And I have all those clips for you today. Yeah, and it's hard. Yeah, same here. It's hard. It was hard to watch it live, and then I spent like 5 hours just trying to find like the most comprehensive like clips, so we could like see and hear it. There were some stops and starts. There's a lot of things going on at that press conference, so like now we can kind of rewatch it together and like see the whole story. Let's all get tapping the screen though. Tap, tap, tap. Let me see here. What am I doing? Sorry. Pin goal. Sorry, I'm getting all these instructions from TikTok studios informing me of all the things I'm not doing. Just quickly, I need to get live on Twitch and YouTube. And then again, primarily today, I again have like 3 presentations I made this morning, but I think we're going to focus on Epstein, that unbelievably crazy Epstein press conference, and then like move on from there because I have other important Epstein information from yesterday and the day before, so then we'll sort of skip around as different topics come up. Okay, let me just get us live. We are live on Twitch. Let me just take care of YouTube, and then we will get this survivor party started. Gosh, Epstein's I shouldn't say victim. I don't know why I'm always saying that. Survivors are the bravest people. Like, talk about a cool kids group. I want to hang out with those women. They seem to be. Hey, Maxwell. Hey, Leah. Give me 1 second. I got to finish this YouTube stuff and then we'll get going. Okay, we are good. Yay, I missed you guys so much. They were very brave. I know. I mean, so brave. And we'll get into it. And again, that's what I have since 6 a.m. All I've been doing is researching and clipping things. So I have so many interesting things to tell you guys. It's not the greatest news, but I'm kind of excited because I think, not as we always talk about on the people's receipts, knowledge is power. I've been talking to some different people. I read some messages and got some calls from people who are talking about, different things to do in the Discord possibly. Please do join the Discord. I think August is a very slow month. Like, the summer is not for news, but I mean, just for politics. Now that Congress is back in session, like things are going to ramp up really fast from now even until, because let's say this time next year, it's going to be midterms time. So I feel like this last August break, wherever, Congress was not on Capitol Hill and it was a little bit quiet for a while. I mean, next year at this time, I know it sounds crazy to be talking about next year, but I was thinking a lot about the timeline of this. I think Trump's second term has been, time is time is not a construct. Well, it is a construct, but it's interesting, right? Like, has this time gone so terrifyingly fast from January? It is September. Is it scary to anyone else how much time has passed? I think, I don't know if it's like it's clearly my perception, but the overwhelming like amount of damage that he's done since January. I was really just thinking a lot about that this Labor Day weekend and like the concept of time and how it's mind boggling that we are in September and it seems like a short period that someone could dismantle the economy, do so much damage in this amount of time. But also it seems like I want to, be like, slow down, so we can stop. It just seems like we don't have enough. There's never enough time in the day to report on all these things, just like today. I mean, I literally clipped probably between 200 and 300 things right now, and I will probably only get, we're not going to get to that many of them. Where's the team at? I'm not sure who the team is, but I'm here. Sorry I wasn't around. My father's birthday is actually I probably shouldn't say that because I've been getting a lot of weird messages from stalkers, or excuse me, MAGA fans. They're fans. They're nice people, but I probably shouldn't. But yeah, I was just celebrating some family birthdays and taking care of my dad's health all weekend. So I'm sorry I have not been around. I need to be. And it looks like I'm going to be gone the first 3 days, at least of next week. So I'm going to try to fit as much information as I can in. And then after that, I've kind of just gave myself a talk this weekend as like, then I'm going to buckle down literally for the next 6 months and just focus on what is important, which is this is the most important thing in my life. I mean, my family is, but sometimes it consumes me, and I just want to make sure that I'm doing this because it's important to my continued survival and sanity. Again, I have clipped the entire, like the Epstein survivor press conference, and you never know, I've heard people pump up a press conference before and I've been very let down. That was, I think, the best press conference I've ever seen on Capitol Hill in my life. Like truly, truly. And every major network from Newsmax to Real America's Voice, that Marjorine's boyfriend is an executive at, to Right Side Broadcasting Network. Well, Fox, Fox is always in and out, I think. But I think they did cover parts. I mean, I've seen clips from Fox, but yeah. I want to say, look, when you talk about covering a press conference, whether they're having other, just a square and then there's other things going on, yeah, there's always going to be some in and out reporting going on. I'm trying to think, who was it? I don't think it was Fox. I was about to blame it on Fox, but one of the things, I think it was CNN. Of course it was. While some of the survivors were talking, which, I mean, these people did not mince words. My favorite is when they're like, we're making our own list. And I'm like, amen. I can't wait. Let's make our own list. Let's not wait for Trump to release the list. We want your list. Or the part where one of them was like, they're infuriated that Ghislaine Maxwell's in a minimum security prison. And they're like, oh, so like Todd Blanche went and interviewed her and couldn't push back on all her lies. They're like, why wasn't I there? I could push back. Everything she said is a lie. And I could have been there and pushed back on all of it. And I was like, oh, these people are serious. Like, this is amazing. This is the best day of my life. So I want to get some more people in here. If everyone can tap the screen before I start the actual package of clips that is this morning's press conference, there's a couple of things I just want to show from yesterday to give context, because and even last week, I've been talking all last week. I kept saying, hey, we're doing shows about other things, but I have all these Epstein clips that I probably at some point should show you guys. I started a separate file, just what I clipped from Epstein today. I think it's 92 clips, but let me just show a couple things just to give context, like almost to debunk the lies, just to prepare when we hear, which I think we're all clear that Trump's a pathological liar, but when we start hearing them, I just want to be clear that it's not real. I want to talk to you guys about so many things. I think this is going to be a good day. Okay. I love Michael Popak. I think his actual Midas Touch show is called Legal AF. I almost said Weird AF, and I'm like, that cannot be correct. I love Michael Popak, though. So I'm going to just show a few. I'm going to start the clips. I've got almost 92 clips of that press conference and related coverage just from today. But I want to show a few things from yesterday for context about the different lies that are being spread and things that, the obfuscations and lies that Congress and Trump are spreading. Disgusting. But again, this is Michael Popak. If you've never heard of the Legal AF podcast, it's under the Midas Touch brand. It's a great podcast. And also the story of how Ben Meiselas and Michael Popak met is a good story. Like, they were just opposing. I always talk about how Midas Touch, there are like the founders are most of them are lawyers. It's because they all used to like fight each other in court. And then they're like, hey, we should do something together. Oh, sorry, hold on. I gotta unmute.
What do you do when you don't want to actually release the Epstein files? You dump on the public 30,000 pages of crap, which is 97% of stuff already made public, only 3% of new stuff, which represents just 10% of the entire mountain of documents that the DOJ has collected about Epstein, and hope nobody notices. What the House Oversight Committee just did at 6 p.m. last night, on Tuesday night, is to try to step on the story and undermine Representative Massey, a Republican who's been leading the charge along with Democrat Ro Khanna, to have the House circumvent the leadership and the committees, do a direct House vote to have the Department of Justice release all of the Epstein files, not the spoon-fed version that we continue to get in September after being promised all of the documents back in February by Pam Bondi and Kash Patel for Donald Trump. I thought it was a good way to kick off this Wednesday morning on Legal AF. We're at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We will be showing the live of the press conference of 10 victims who are standing up and saying, we are not a hoax. We are not boring details. We were sexually trafficked and abused as children by somebody who was best friends with Donald Trump. And enough with the rehabilitation tour of Ghislaine Maxwell, who participated in our sexual abuse. Representative Massey, joining with Representative Mo Khanna, is not only hosting the live press conference and the 10 victims to speak aloud to the American people in about 2 hours, but he's also the sponsor of an unusual procedural device or technique on the House floor. What do you do when you don't want to actually release the Epstein files? You dump on the public 30,000 pages of crap, which is 97% of stuff already made public, only 3% of new stuff, which represents just 10% of the entire mountain of documents that the DOJ has collected about Epstein, and hope nobody notices. What the House Oversight Committee just did at 6 p.m. last night, on Tuesday night, is to try to step on the story and undermine Representative Massey, a Republican who's been leading the charge along with Democrat Ro Khanna, to have the House circumvent the leadership and the committees, do a direct House vote to have the Department of Justice release all of the Epstein files, not the spoon-fed version that we continue to get in September after being promised all of the documents back in February by Pam Bondi and Kash Patel for Donald Trump. I thought it was a good way to kick off this Wednesday morning on Legal AF.
I think that's good. I mean, that's pretty much what I wanted him to say. Like, first and foremost, I mean, we keep hearing some of the lies we keep hearing. Oh, 33,000. Even Anna Paulina Lunatic. Okay, traitor. I thought you were going to sign this. Mind you, remember, before the August congressional break, Congress gets all of August off. And remember, they left even a few days early because they were so scared that discharge petition was going to go through, and they were going to have to, they were going to force a vote on the House floor right then. So Mike Johnson just ended the congressional session a couple days early, so that the 7 days discharge petitions need would lapse when they were on break. Well, back then, I believe we had like 15 Republican signatures. I think before we watch the best press conference I've ever seen in my life, we're about to laugh, cry, be furious. But before we go through all these clips, I think it's important to note that we need 2 signatures as of today. We had more than enough signatures, right? All Democrats are voting yes to release the entirety of the Epstein files, obviously, and protect victims' names, like I'm not talking about that, but to not do any redaction BS. These alleged 33,000 files, which by the way, Trump has released a statement this week saying that anyone that votes for this discharge petition, anyone that went to this press conference I'm about to show you all of the clips from, he considers it a hostile act. So I just want to be clear because I mean, this is why I had to stop debating idiots on TikTok. But for all the idiots who don't understand statistical analysis and can't actually do math to definitively understand that conservative legislation has always harmed women and children. You have never, if you believe for a second that conservatives are protectors or promoters of women's rights or women justice for women, like, you would be wrong. As a matter of fact, they through legislation for years have made it mathematically harder for women to get justice, particularly for children to get justice, particularly when we talk about things like S trafficking. So I know it's not true, but for all the MAGA people that dare show their faces talking about how you care about women and children, I think we can disabuse you of that notion today, both mathematically, statistically, and just listen. Is this how you protect women and children? Is this how, by telling the entire Republican caucus in Congress, alleged, now the Republican, now, and I'm not going to say Republicans because I think that's a dumb term because I think it's meaningless now. Conservatives in Congress, that if they protect children, child S trafficking, or women from S trafficking in any way, if they work in any way to help the victims of a horrific, and remember, this is MAGA. This isn't my dream. This is yours, right? Well, I mean, I understood the reality of this dream because even before MAGA cared about the Epstein stuff, I knew who Alex Acosta was. I was following what he was doing in Florida. But remember when MAGA was like, oh, the deep state, it's out, they're doing all this stuff. No, this was it. And you elected the deep state, which is Trump. And these are powerful people who do unseemly things and engage in cover-ups. I mean, I think we're pretty clear on that. Since Trump has been president a second time, all he's done, what we've learned now in our new society, which, don't get me wrong, I always talk about the growing inequality in this country. That's in every area, not just wealth inequality, which is gross. Oh my God. By the way, we're not going to get to it today, but on Friday, I was doing this debate, but I couldn't think of the words I wanted to say if you were there. So I have teachers, don't laugh at me. I always talk about how I have an economics professor chatbot that I have these amazing conversations with. So we were working on some calculations together this weekend. Yeah, it's about, and again, I'm not just making stuff up with a chatbot. I tie this back to sources. So through several different sources, I used to talk about the Rand Corporation says that $50 trillion of wealth inequality has now been transferred, I believe, since 1980 to the top of the economy. We're averaging about 2.5 trillion a year of wealth transferring from, I want to say middle and lower classes, but it's just the lower class to the 1% every single year. Yeah. Don't worry. We'll get it. I'll depress you guys economically tomorrow or something. We'll get into it tomorrow. But today we're going to focus on this. So there is no doubt, right? And the way we've reordered society, not just financially, but how that plays into situations like this is if you are Donald Trump, first of all, MAGA, we protect women and children. You elected someone that's been credibly accused dozens of times of essaying women, making disgusting comments about children. You guys don't know how to research or read. So I want to believe you were incapable of finding all these connections between Epstein and Trump, even though we held your hand and walked you through them at every turn and said, it's him, he's the guy. the call is coming from inside the house. Like, and let me show you the difference. When I used to make the mistake of talking to MAGA on the internet, and I would say, Donald Trump's all up in the Epstein files. I'd be like, no, he's not. And and then they'd say, what about Bill Clinton? And here's how sane people who can think, how their brains work. When someone says to me, what about Bill Clinton? I say to you, yeah, I've always felt really uncomfortable about Bill Clinton, his treatment of women. Like, I don't need to be on like a private jet with Bill Clinton to know he's a creep. The Monica Lewinsky thing alone, which by the way, was not just even Democrats, that was Republicans and Democrats. Just what happened to Monica Lewinsky is one of the most terrifying, shameful things that ever happened in our country's history. Like, let me help you, because I don't think you guys have real jobs or ever worked in corporate America, so you don't understand. It doesn't matter the situation. Like, everyone's like, she wanted it. No, some person that works in the White House as a White House aide cannot want something from the president of the United States. That's what we call, people who have vocabularies call, an imbalance of power. When you are in a vertical structure of power, this person is 100% of the time at fault. It does not matter anything else about the situation. So, and that's why I'm saying you'll never catch me defending Bill Clinton. When I was helping the Kamala Harris campaign for free, I've never accepted money to have political views. But when I was going to all those political campaign events and I watched Bill Clinton speak and he he could not say Kamala Harris's name like hundreds of times on 2 different occasions. And I was just like, this man has no respect for women. Like, I don't, like, I'll never respect him. Like, that's just, you don't have, just because you're on the blue team doesn't mean you can't just say like, hey, something's staring me in front of in my face, so I'm just going to comment on what I think. I think this guy might be a creep. Like, he's giving me creepy vibes. Like, it's given unbelievable creep vibes. And when I watched Obama speak, was I like, oh, this guy's a creep? No, it was like the opposite. Like, you could just tell, oh, there's a decent human being who's going about his life in the right way, you know? And it's okay to be on the red team and be like, hey, I elected a rapist or someone that's been found liable of SA. And the only reason it wasn't grape was because, it was so, whatever it was that penetrated E. Jean Carroll in the dressing room was so small, and he had her pinned facing away from him, and she just was like, it was so small, I can't be sure. And I'm not saying that as a joke. That's in the court records. It was so small, she's like, I don't know if it could have been a penis, could have been a pinky finger. Like, that's, and then they're like, well, I mean, just because of the nature of vocabulary in the New York Penal Code, that's funny. This is what we have to go with. Like, that's the only reason. So miss me when we all have to go through this horror show you're about to hear. Miss me with we care about women and children. You guys are literal S-bags. All of you are S-bags. Every time you guys sit online and I try to talk to you about SA and how 1 in 3 women in this country have experienced it, and statistically who they experience it from, which this is going to come as an unbelievable shock. It is not random, undocumented people that are essaying people. We are experiencing it from people who have familiarity and access to us. Family members, friends of family, people that build trust with us, tell us they care about us, and then essay us, right? I mean, that's the reality. And now, Donald Trump, who, when it was convenient, I think this is what is infuriating me the most this morning, profited, was elected, I mean, at every turn for the last, how many years has it been? Like 10 years? He's used Epstein as like, oh, yeah, we need to do something about that. I'm the only one that wants to do something about that. I'll do something about it. Look at me. It'll be me. I'm going to do something about it. He got all of this political capital, and MAGA got to pretend, which again, that's because you guys can't read or do math. You guys have never been defenders of women and children. You've made it nearly impossible for women to get justice in SA cases. Anytime I talk to you guys, with your whole chest, you're saying we're all liars. 100% of women happen to be liars. And if you have ever taken a statistics class, which of course you haven't, because that happens in college, that's not possible. That's not how it works. It can't be everyone. This has happened to someone. If 28 people have credibly accused Trump, they're not all lying. And then you start making, well, they wanted it to. I mean, you guys, every day we have to hear this from you. It's delusional. Anyways, hold on really quick. Let me keep tapping the screen. Let's get to 100K. Let's get to 1 million. I'm sure we're going to feel we're about to feel a very wide range of feelings. I want to show just 2 factual clips really quick from our new official head of oversight and accountability, Robert Garcia, that I meant to show you last week when these document dumps were happening, of Robert Garcia just being like, no. Which I don't even think I added this clip, and I didn't think about it till I saw the lies Trump was telling after this press conference. But also, there are clips out there, MAGA, if you're interested in the truth. One of the lies that I've heard being uttered by Trump or people around Trump is that Bill Barr went to Congress during the congressional break and was deposed under oath and said, Trump has never done anything wrong. He said the opposite. You can find testimony of non-liars who were in there. These transcripts aren't fully available, so otherwise I would have read it and I could tell you for sure. But I just want to be clear that there are many people who are in that room. Donald Trump's just a pathological liar. The majority of people in that room say that Bill Barr said the opposite. I cannot clear Donald Trump. That's what he said. He's like, no, I cannot clear him of wrongdoing in any of this. So that's one I think I heard Trump muttering, which that's another thing we need to get to. Trump is a basket case, right? Trump doesn't even know what's going on, so we can't really ask him anything about what he did or didn't do. So let me just show you these 2 clips before we get to the clips of this press conference, which, again, the best press conference I've ever seen happen today. Kudos to whoever organized that. And that was the largest gathering of Epstein victims, I guess, ever in history. It was super powerful.
Congressman Robert Garcia, it's great to see you today. I've got to ask you, we know the Department of Justice has turned over some subset of what they're calling the Epstein files based on the subpoena that you pushed forward, and you were able to get this subpoena sent to the Department of Justice. So I have to ask you, how many files did you receive? What were in the files that you received? Is the cover-up just continuing?
I mean, Ben, what we got was complete bullshit. And we demanded the full Epstein files, and that's not what was sent over. The White House cover-up clearly continues. What they sent us was 33,000 pages of essentially documents that have already been in the public domain. And so 97% of those 33,000 pages are court records, documents, reports that everyone already has, that the public already has and has reviewed. And so instead of actually sending us the client list, information related to Epstein and his crimes, those who have been involved in the serious damage and harm that he has caused, we didn't get actually any of that. So that is incredibly.
The reason I want you to, I just want to be clear, and again, this is the ranking member of Oversight and Accountability. The reason I want to say that is because Monday, Tuesday, especially yesterday, all day long, people who were going to sign this discharge petition to release all the Epstein files, like Anna Paulina Lunatic, have now backtracked, are lying and saying, oh, Trump's hasn't just released these 33,000 pages to Congress, but he's putting them on a website tonight for the public. Like, actually, I'm not going to skip around too much because I'm going to get to this press conference in just a second. But let me just show you a screenshot that I just remembered I have from the ranking member of the Rules Committee, Lisa. Oh my God, Lisa, what? Teresa Leger Fernandez. Here, look. This is what the 33,000 pages for. It's literally, and this is how dumb you are, Magga. And I want to be clear. I'm a former teacher. You don't have to stay dumb. This is not a permanent condition. I am challenging you because you guys only respond to negative reinforcement. You guys love, and I'm saying this because observably, you guys want to be used, abused, robbed, and lied to by Donald Trump, who's a malignant narcissist. I also happen to be raised by a malignant narcissist with a much higher IQ than Trump. So I'm going to speak to you like in the way that my mother, or people who have been abused by narcissists understand. You like when Trump's mean? Okay, prove to me you're not idiots. This is from the head of the Rules Committee. So Trump has ridiculous news. Why this House committee releases 33,290 pages of Epstein related records. And the ranking member of the Rules Committee says, here's what the files Republicans just released looks like. Who's to say Trump's name isn't behind those black boxes? Release the full files and bring justice to women and children survivors. And I think today, when we go through this press conference, it's going to answer the question of, which, to be clear, in this bill, that we're trying to get to the House floor with the discharge petition, it does say that the names of survivors will be protected. The names of the children that this happened to will be protected. But you're going to hear these people saying, the power coming off of these survivors is amazing. Like, they're just like, release it all, or we're going to start doing interviews and release it. It's like, okay. Cool. And I want to just show one interview from Dan Goldman last night, because Dan Goldman was he's a representative heir to the Levi's fortune. He represents the southern tip of Manhattan, which, if you're familiar with the map of Manhattan, that is Wall Street. And he is a very proficient lawyer. He's amazing on oversight in the Judiciary Committee. So he was being interviewed, and he made a couple of good points that I didn't hear anywhere else. I just want to play these two clips, and then we'll get this press conference started. Keep tapping the screen. We're almost to 100K. I've spent 6 hours this morning putting this together. If you like my work, this is my job. This is my Cash App and Venmo. Please do support my work gift. Please subscribe. I'm trying to get to 375 subscriptions. That's the yellow star in the bottom left corner. I appreciate it. And actually, Cash App and Venmo will be good because I've got to possibly drive to Vegas next week. It's a long story. I've got to do some stuff there that I don't want to do, but family comes first. So I have a sick uncle there who probably have to drive my dad there. He had a heart attack. He's had several, though. I'm not saying he's imminently. He survived a few, but my dad wants to go see his brother. So I think that's why I might miss the first 3 days of next week. Okay. So again, this is yesterday. What a cool name. Monster Rocket. Thank you for subscribing. Appreciate it so much. This is last night. And I just want everyone to know, I do have the clips of the crazy yelling that went on in the Rules Committee last night and everything, but we're going to start with the press conference, and then based on time, we'll backtrack to those arguments, which were also crazy.
Congressman, do you think, it seems like there's nothing really new in these so far.
There's nothing new. This is all a charade. This is all an effort by the DOJ at Trump's direction to collaborate with Chairman James Comer and the top Republicans in Congress to give the Republicans enough so that they have political cover to conceal the Epstein files and whatever it is in there that Donald Trump is so desperate to hide after he was so desperate for it to be released?
I heard, Congressman, do you
Love Dan Goldman. After he got all the political clout and social capital from MAGA, who at what point are you going to realize that every single thing Donald Trump has told you was a lie? He lied about this. He is the swamp. Like if hopefully we'll get to his new $5 billion crypto grift. He just grifted another $5 billion while you idiots continue to seem confused about who he is.
Mike Johnson shut down Congress a week early because he didn't even want to deal with these Epstein files. But the fact of the matter is this is a cover-up. This is a massive cover-up. They're not just stonewalling. They're trying to do it through charades and sleight of hand, so to speak. But they are covering something up. This Donald Trump was hot to trot, and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino were leading the charge to release the Epstein files. Now, all of a sudden, they don't want them released. They are trying to hide something. And by releasing these documents, most of which have been released before, others will not have any relevant information. My suspicion is that the Oversight Committee is colluding with the Department of Justice. If you look at a resolution, an alternative resolution they're going to present this week, it does not call for the witness statements. It gives all sorts of, goes through many different sections, types of information that should be released. It does include the witness statements. If it doesn't include the witness statements, then it doesn't include the core of the Epstein files.
Congressman Goldman, appreciate your time. Thanks very much.
Again, and that's why I wanted you to hear that. So everything you're about to hear, right? For some reason, Trump doesn't want the original witness statements to be heard. Why wouldn't you want the people who were actually there, who are saying, this is what I know, this is what I saw, this is what I heard, whilst I was being trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein and his really rich friends? And I think the answer to this question, and again, first, I just want to be clear. So what you're going to hear a lot about on Fox News and things is, this is just, who cares about, this is just political what the Democrats are doing. This is bipartisan, right? Like Marjorie Taylor Greene was at this press conference, right? And this is a total and complete release outside of redacting victims' names of these files, right? So Trump doesn't want the actual people who were victimized and who witnessed the victimization to be heard. Don't you think that's strange? When you're pretending to care about women and children, it's almost like, and once you see this press conference, you'll know exactly why. Because, I mean, one of Jeffrey Epstein's apparent best tool of control of these women was saying, like, Donald Trump's my best friend. Like, you better watch out. If you say or do the wrong thing, I have friends in high places. I mean, that was one of the biggest threats, was Donald Trump against these women who are being trafficked. Like, children at the time. Sorry, I'm just picturing from this press conference. Wait, sorry. I'm just trying to switch the slide, but TikTok Studio changed on me. Okay, oh yeah. This is again one last clip, because the other thing they're trying to remember. So the way they're every single thing Trump is doing is to try to distract from this right now. Trump is losing his mind. But the main one is he has James Comer. Whilst these victims are telling their stories, he had James Comer on CNN being like, this is just a political stunt. Republicans have our own resolution. Well, I thought, remember, the first story was, we don't need Congress to do anything. The DOJ is releasing everything. The DOJ released nothing. They did it all over again. Everything. They did the Epstein binder sleight of hand trick again. And MAGA seems, honestly, they seem less mad this time. Like, maybe they actually believe Donald Trump released something to them. 97% of those 33,000 pages available in the public domain. Most everything else is redacted. There is no new information. And if there was, I would be fascinated to know what it is. But I haven't heard of anything that isn't already known in the public domain. So you got Epstein bindered a second time. Then now that didn't work so good. Now Congress is back in session. So to try to detract from what Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie are doing together, this is a bipartisan resolution and bill. To try to distract from that, now Comer's like, I have my own bill. Don't worry, I'm going to release everything. And that's what you heard Dan Goldman talking about. No, they're not. That bill is, again, lets the DOJ pick and choose. And by DOJ, I mean former lobbyist for the Middle East, Pam Bondi, who is the literal swamp, to again cover for Trump. So that's when you hear Thomas Massie saying things like, hey, my legislation's not redundant. That's what they're trying to now sell to dumb MAGA people is, oh, we're going to do it anyways. Well, if it's the same, then why don't you just vote for this one, dummies? If yours is just as good, why don't you have 100 Epstein survivors behind you on the Capitol steps? How dumb do you think people are? And MAGA is not smart. And by the way, before I get started on this press conference, Mac58, thank you for resubscribing. Writerman 2160. I love that name. I love writers. Thank you for subscribing. And I got Monster Rocket. Thank you again for subscribing. Sorry, I'm just going to make sure I'm trying my best to thank everyone. I appreciate any and all support. Okay, so I just wanted to play this last clip before we get to the best press conference of all time. This is Thomas Massie. This is not the clip I was talking about. Here we go. I think this is it.
Is there more information?
This is the wrong clip. I have the clip later in the presentation. But again, basically, Trump did this thing yesterday where he's like, if you vote for this, if you go to that press conference, I consider it a hostile act. I mean, I just want you to know that a hostile act is being a spy for Russia. Oh my God, I wish we had time today for me to tell you more. Turns out the guy who worked in the Trump administration, I don't know if anyone's seen this, he was a spy for Russia. Trump got honeypotted. Literally. The guy who hired and fired every single person in the Trump administration is a goddamn Russian spy. I mean, allegedly. Remember when they said Eric, I talked about it. I was like, where did this guy come from? And Trump just liked him because he kept raising so much money out of nowhere for him. His name was Sergio Gar. Turns out his name's like Gorkowski. Yeah. Oh, we'll get we'll get there. Actually, Trump has failed. Thank you for the tiny diny. I love tiny dinies. Thank you for the other gifts as well. I'm going to update. I am so tempted to just veer off course and tell you about Trump hiring who is most likely, again, allegedly, in my opinion, a Russian spy, all according to some other people's reporting. And can you imagine? But that's another conversation. Hopefully we'll get to it. I'm not going to get derailed. Let's get on to this morning. Okay, so prior to the press conference starting, a lot of people were doing media this morning. It was crazy. It was like Sunday morning politics.
But I think it's notable that even in our discussions with the victims yesterday, we were told that many of them have never even seen their own FBI files, and we're told that they were being withheld by the federal government because of national interest. So it's clear that the federal government at the highest levels for decades has been conducting a cover-up of what actually happened in this case and the people who were involved in it.
So do you trust Bondi and the DOJ to be transparent about what they're putting out there?
I mean, not only do I not trust them to be transparent, they are actively involved in a cover-up right now. But I think it's notable that even
Oh my gosh, Scott, don't do it to my ADHD. Yes, letting it nut lick. If you say Howard, just Transpose the L and the N, and his name is Nutlick. Yes, I do know, Scott, about Howard Nutlick profiting off tariffs. The man who is on TV talking all the time. But that's not the only way, by the way. Howard Nutlick is so corrupt in many ways. I could take you, following the money is my favorite activity. I could take you down so many rabbit holes of Nutlick corruption. But yeah, like, just know that Howard Nutlick is personally profiting off this ridiculous tariff strategy of this regressive tax that no one can afford. Nutlick and Cantor and his two like creepy sons are directly profiting off of it. We'll get there, trust me. That I told you I made like 3 presentations today, but trust me, this will be very interesting as well. Okay, so this is actually, I forgot. This is actually not this morning. This is really, really late last night when all the arguments in the rules committee were going on and everything. But I just think it's a good point. That's why I added it here.
Back today, he says we're going to vote on a resolution that expresses support for the Oversight Committee's continued investigation of this matter. And that gives Republicans like a little out so they can say, we're voting to release the files, but not like actually, just like we're voting to let James Comer continue to pretend he's trying to release the files. And then when Massey made this accusation that, well, the White House is whipping against my bipartisan discharge petition, I reached out to the White House and I was told from an official, helping Thomas Massie and liberal Democrats with their attention seeking, while the DOJ is fully supporting a more comprehensive file release effort from the Oversight Committee, again, James Comer, would be viewed as a very hostile act to the administration.
That's just not just calling members and saying, don't vote against us. That is going on the record saying this would be a hostile act to the administration, voting for a discharge position that would essentially require the DOJ to release the Epstein files, broadly defined, what would be an affront to what Trump wants. And that's like, they don't, did they lay
I want to be clear that they said that the people that were in Sukkot, who were turns out the majority of them were in the United States legally and had never committed a crime anywhere in the world. Those brown people were hostiles. Remember? I mean, that's how crazy this is. He's telling conservatives, like, I will ruin your life if you support this bipartisan discharge position. And that's why, again, as of today, we need 2 more Republican votes. We have all the Democratic votes we need, and we have I believe Boebert's still in. I don't know. She seemed very scared yesterday. Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie. I feel like there's one more, but remember, like Tim Burchett, like all these people were like, yeah, I'm with you. Where are they now? Shocking. This is always what they do. And again, this morning, this was what Robert Garcia said right before going out to the press conference.
When you campaign for president and you demand and you say you're going to release the files, and you do this for years, and then you win and you completely flip-flop, that is a cover-up. We know that Pam Bondi has already told the president, and she's been clear, that he's in the files. It's been widely reported. And then we know that the president and Pam Bondi try to dismiss the files and not get them released. And so they have the power right now to get all the files out to the American public and to their supporters that they have betrayed over and over again. That release last night was a joke. The information was already public. We're demanding all the full files, and they need to comply with the subpoena immediately. When you campaign...
So this is the actual press conference this morning, and understand, so there was a press conference where over 100+ survivors that were children trafficked by Epstein were there. And then next, like in another area in DC, there was like another rally going on in support of these survivors. Where like, I don't know. I mean, I know who Gloria Allred is. Hopefully everyone, she's one of the most famous lawyers in the world. Like she was speaking, a bunch of other victims and advocates. Like this was a huge thing going on all morning and past lunch in DC. It was super cool to see. Oh, I know, Rare Princess. Oh, I'm on that. Like, which I actually, So I'll just say this now, and I think I have a couple clips, but they waited for it to stop and then started again, so you could like re-clip. But Rare Princess was saying I should just pin it, so everyone's like, what is not like what if? I'll try to do that more. Yeah, there were these military low jet flyovers while these survivors are trying to tell their stories and while people are trying to speak, which in my opinion was not a coincidence at all. There's these flyovers. Oh no. And I found people waited and spoke again. I think I have most everything clearly clipped, but you know why I think this happened? You just have to be me. Like I always talk about, I've never missed a Trump rally. I rarely miss even a Trump press conference. I don't subject you to them anymore, but I watch them just because I like to watch people's mannerisms, their mental health, physical health failing, all the things. And if you know, Trump acts like he has like the most prime slice of real estate in Palm Beach. He doesn't. It's literally like in the parking lot of the Palm Beach airport. And one of my favorite things is when Trump tries to do press conferences outside the front door of his house. That's why he doesn't do it anymore. And there's just literally private jets, like literally like scraping the top of his house and landing, and nobody can hear him. And he's always like, oh, these planes, and he can't stop it. Yeah, you live in the parking lot of an airport. So I think it makes perfect sense that he's like, yeah, like I live in the parking lot of an airport. Like, I'll just use planes and no one will be able to hear what they're saying. It makes perfect sense because Trump used to love to talk like at the front of Mar-a-Lago and can't because it's like, oh, we didn't know you lived in an airport. So anyways, but that's why I thought that was funny. But yeah, multiple journalists were reporting like these random military flyovers. I read a couple independent journalists saying like, I've been working in DC for a long time. Like, this is not normal. Like, you know, it's that Trump is trying to make it hard for people to hear, allegedly. I mean, or let's just say multiple journalists are reporting on this, like how strange it is that would, over a no-fly zone. Understand that because of national security, there's not planes flying over this area of DC because it's a hostile act. So all of a sudden there's like military jets scrambling and droning. I don't know. It was just unbelievable. And it made me think of Trump screaming over people's private jets landing at Mar-a-Lago. Yeah, like he did that from personal experience. If he did, I'm just saying, allegedly.
We begin the work of bringing this country together. Progressives, independents, moderates, and yes, MAGA supporters, to demand truth and justice. A nation that allows rich and powerful men to traffic and abuse young girls without consequence is a nation that has lost its moral and spiritual core. Americans are asking a very simple question. How is it possible that in the richest, most powerful country in the world, there are corrupt special interest forces?
That's an echo you're hearing because of it, because of the echoing of things. That's not our sound. His voice is echoing.
Forces, both foreign or domestic, that are preventing the release, that have a stranglehold on our government and are preventing the release of the full Epstein files. There is something that is rotten in Washington. Less than 1% of these files have been released. We are demanding today on the discharge petition that all of the files be released. We know we have 212 Democrats and we have 4 Republicans, courageous Republicans like Thomas Massie, Nancy Mace, who was so emotional yesterday after talking to the survivors, Congresswoman Boebert, and Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. We need just 2 more signatures to force the release. So we gather here on the steps of the Capitol to confront these corrupt forces. Today we stand with survivors. We stand against big money. we stand to protect America's children. We begin.
Again, I just want to point out 0 male conservatives have the spine or the balls or whatever to go against Trump. It is always women. It's always minorities or black women, right, who are standing up to Trump. Why does not one white man, you guys remember we had to get rid of DEI because you guys were the most capable, the most brave, the most intelligent, and yet Trump abolished DEI to hire the least qualified people. It seems like conservative white males in Congress are absolutely spineless. And I'm talking about prior to the 1 month break. I'm sure they all got a call from Trump. They were all like, yeah, we're signing this. They're ghost town, nowhere to be found. But we still need 2 signatures for justice and to get the actual release of the Epstein files, because again, white male conservatives in Congress seem to be spineless cowards per usual. And someone, I think it was Loris, who was like, I still don't trust Marjorie Taylor Greene. Like, I just need to say something. We don't need to say that anymore. Like, I don't, but just because Marjorie Taylor Greene seems to care about this, or I could make the argument, she's dug herself into such a hole with this with people and said she was going to support it. And she's been driving this train for so long. If she hopped off, and let me just say this, as a woman, a conservative woman, she would be ran over for it. She's going to be the first one under the wheels of the bus. But apparently, if you're just a coward, a white male conservative coward who's spineless, like, you can slink away in shame and not be held accountable. I mean, I would like to see MAGA hold some people accountable who said they wanted the complete release of the Epstein files whilst protecting the victims' names, and have now backed out. But I don't know. Like, it seems like MAGA men who support Trump that aren't in Congress are even more coward. Like, they're even bigger cowards. So I don't know who's going to hold these people accountable. We're not holding them accountable for robbing us, for stealing healthcare, for allowing Trump to grift and do this shit with tariffs. It is Congress. At any moment Congress wants to stop this tariff stuff, they can stop it. Republicans, they are predominantly white male conservatives in Congress that at any moment can stop this, but won't. They're all cowards. So am I surprised they couldn't show up this morning, even though you spent months and years saying this was what you demanded and wanted, and now none of you had the nerve to show up? No, I'm not surprised at all. You guys are complete cowards in every area of your life.
I hope my colleagues are watching this press conference. I want them to think, what if this was your sister? What if this was your daughter? When these survivors speak, the Washington establishment is asking the American public to believe something that is not believable. They're asking you to believe that 2 individuals created hundreds of victims and they acted alone, and that the DOJ has no idea of who else might have been involved, that nobody else did anything that rose to a criminal enterprise. The American people know that's not true. Now, the Speaker of the House just offered a fig leaf to my colleagues. They're going to vote on a non-binding resolution today that does absolutely nothing. I appreciate the efforts of my colleague James Comer, who's leading the Oversight Committee. They may find some information, but they're allowing the DOJ to curate all of the information that the DOJ is giving them. If you've looked at the pages they've released so far, they're heavily redacted. Some pages are entirely redacted. And 97% of this is already in the public domain. So I'm calling on my colleagues. Be one of the next 2 who sponsors this discharge petition. I think it's shameful that this has been called a hoax. Hopefully today we can clear that up. This is not a hoax. This is real. There are real survivors. There are real victims to this criminal enterprise. and the perpetrators are being protected because they're rich and powerful and political donors to the establishment here in Washington, D.C. So today we're standing with these survivors and we're giving them a voice, and I want to close by thanking them. They are brave. I hope they encourage other survivors to come forward and to tell their stories, not just of Jeffrey Epstein and Maxwell, but anywhere in the country. This is a message that we are sending. This is a litmus test. Can we drain the swamp? Are there people who are outside of the reach of the law? I don't think there should be. So hopefully today we'll get 2 more signatures on the discharge petition. That's all we need. I hope.
Amen. And again, this is one of the farthest right Republicans of all. I mean, he's not a real libertarian, but the closest you're going to see in Congress to a libertarian is probably Thomas Massie. Truly. You can't get farther right than this. And he called it correct. This is the swamp. You guys, but the problem is that Trump told you it was all Democrats. It's not. Right? If you have the propensity to do horrific things to little children, that has nothing to do with political alignment, right? There are people that have that propensity hiding on the left and the right, right? I mean, this is not about politics, and I think you'll hear the survivors say that over and over and over and over. This is not about politics. Oh, and I was going to show you guys, if you're wondering, like, I think some of the most complete versions of these accounts, because I spent a lot of time looking for like the most complete clips and like as much as I could get. I've talked about this account before, but if you're not following it, Home of the Brave, it's like @OfTheBrave USA. I think of all the coverage, I mean, there's a lot of coverage of this. I think theirs was like, in terms of like, you can see like each survivor kind of itemized out and all the clips. I used this primarily of the Brave USA, and then Fact Post News, and then like I usually use like Aaron Rupar and Asin from Midas Touch. But like I think Home of the Brave was really trying their best to like get the full story here. So I would suggest if you're looking for these clips, that's where I would look. But yeah, I have a ton of clips from different places, and then I added some at the end of just things I was like, I don't want this in case I don't have it, like let me make sure I have it. And I also have Trump's response. I saw what you said, Navy Vet. If you mean like what Trump said after this press conference was done, when he was in the White House doing what he does every morning, which is just tell a series of dementia-fueled lies. Yeah, I have his response as well. So we'll get there, but I'm just trying to tell this story in chronological order as best I can. But again, it's super strange to say, MAGA, this was your goal. 100% of you wanted all of the Epstein files to be released. You said if it wasn't all, there was a conspiracy, something was wrong. And now that Trump's like, can't be all, you guys are like, some of you are like, never mind, I don't care about children, which you do every time, right? Thoughts and prayers for the kids. Whatever delusional story Donald Trump wants to tell about why we don't need to keep women and children safe, I guess that's true. Thoughts and prayers. You guys are cowards. I mean, truly, MAGA men are cowards. I say that every time. I mean, when I do these lives, I'm talking to MAGA men. You guys are all cowards, truly. And I say that because just by nature of being born a woman in this country, it's terribly hard to survive. Forget about then, transitioning to be a woman. Like, that is a labor of love that I will never, like, I mean, it's like, hey, I would like less respect in the world. Like, yeah, like, you have no idea. So when I do the People's Receipts, it's geared towards insecure, conservative white men who cannot read or do math, who literally change their minds based on a guy that says men shouldn't wear makeup, has a full face of makeup on, is in drag every single day. And you guys are too dumb to even be like, wait a minute, if it's weird for men to, if drag is bad, why is the guy I voted for in drag 24 hours a day? And nobody yet has even been able to figure it out. That's specifically who I'm talking to. Because God knows it's hard enough to be a woman in this world. I don't need to beat women down. It just happens. Yes, Captain Jack Sparrow does wear eyeliner, you monster rocket. Yes. JD Vance, Tony Gonzalez, look up Representative Tony Gonzalez. He takes that eyeliner to a place. Like, I had to have like a makeup artist come up to me and be like, "We're not doing black line eyeliner under the eyes." Someone tell the men. They no one told them. Wait, hold on. Is this? Okay, yeah. That's the clip. Wait, no. Is this a second clip? Hold on. Sorry. I just don't want to miss any. No, yeah. That's the clip. Just making sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, this is what I was talking about. So Aaron Rupar, which I like how he does this, it's like, he's not always just covering, like, everyone's covering this press conference. So he's covering, like, well, at least in this clip, the Republican response. So Trump has creepy James Comer on CNN while the press conference is playing, like shitting on it, which was it was making me furious. Like, James Comer, you are not a man.
Democrats on your committee say 97% of the Epstein-related documents from the U.S. Justice Department released to the American people last night were already public. What do you say to that?
Well, the 3% that weren't public, that's 3% more than Joe Biden released when he was president. Look, President Trump is complying with our subpoena, with my subpoena. He's turning over documents. We posted 34,000 last night.
So again, none of this is true. I just want to be clear. The only president that did anything about this was Joe Biden. Joe Biden put Ghislaine Maxwell in prison. We were trying to prosecute Jeffrey Epstein, and he, while Trump was president, ended up no longer with us in a prison. So yeah, like, let me help you for people, because I know MAGA, they're like, yeah, that makes sense. No, that's just, if that made sense to you, that's just another sign you're an idiot. Yeah, whilst you're busy prosecuting a person, fighting off a pandemic, have Trump full-time. Trump is controlling the Congress, the legislative branch, while you're the president of the United States, and they're trying to impeach you, make up lies about your son and family, trying to impeach the director of Homeland Security, trying to shit on Fauci, who is a literal international hero for his work on infectious disease. Yeah, you're kind of busy, but the only president, just to be clear, who's held anyone accountable for this was in fact Joe Biden. Like, and just if any words conservatives are saying make sense to you, then you're an idiot, or you're actively engaged in a cover up of child trafficking. You can decide which one, or it's a combination of both. That's who you are now. Thank you for extending your subscription, Electric Girl. I appreciate it so much. We're almost to 200K. Keep tapping. That was 20K. Second zero. Like a log. Thank you so much. I'm going to update the gift goals. Thank you for reminding me. And this is my Cash App and Venmo. All of my research and the hard work I do on the people's receipts and otherwise, it relies on your tips and donations. Thank you for your support. Sorry I interrupted in the middle, but when Comer tells his pack of lies, I become infuriated.
We expect to get more documents. As soon as we get those documents and review to make sure none of the victims' names are listed who don't want their names listed, then we're going to put those online.
Already redacted. That's what the DOJ. I mean, I'm just telling, he's lying. Like, remember, it turned out, unfortunately, we had to have people come forward and say there were 1,000 DOJ employees who have been directed to go through terabytes of Epstein files and flag every time Trump's name is in them. And then that was originally under the pretext of redacting the victims' names. And then it came out, oh, they're like alerting Pam Bondi to how much Trump's in there. But no, they're redacted. You received them redacted. You don't redact government documents, James Comer. You're not in charge of what are you talking about? Like, you sit with a black marker in the Oversight and Accountability Committee and redact things? No, you don't.
As well, and we're going to seek justice for the survivors. And I think that's what the objective of this investigation should be. It's to find out, not only the names of who some of the people were that abused the girls, but also to hold many of these criminals accountable. And that's what the victims who we met with yesterday asked us to do.
Democrats on your committee.
The victims seem to hate you a lot. Like, what are you talking about? They seem to really not like you. So again, this is just a second part of Thomas Massie speaking, which I was like, okay, I do have it, and a better video and sound. Sorry, different networks
The
had
Washington
such bad sound.
establishment is asking the American public to believe something that is